Let's welcome on our guest line Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh, I cannot believe the timing. How can you please give me some sort of just wisdom on how to make a movie that perfectly coincides with the timing of real world events like this? Dinesh, well, congratulations.
Well, thank you, Mike. I'm not Nostradamus, but these are the burning issues of our time.
Nostradamus had nothing on you, because I'll tell you, that movie, honestly, you got to know the timing. I'm watching the screener they sent me after the FBI stuff all came down yesterday, and I thought, my gosh, it's like it was just made. Dinesh lays out this perfect narrative about who Hillary is, where she comes from, and the political party that she belongs to. And what a compelling, amazing story this is. You've got to be very proud of this movie.
I really am, Mike. This is my third time around the block, and while I felt that the Obama movie of 4 years ago was very prescient, it was still a narrowly focused on one man, and a mystery man, Obama. Of course, Hillary's not a mystery woman. She's been around for 25, 30 years. We know all about her. And so this movie actually casts a much wider compass. It looks not just at Hillary, as you know, but at progressivism, at the whole sordid history of the Democratic Party that has been swept under the rug by progressive historians in the textbooks. They don't talk about it in the media. So I think this is a mind-blowing movie. People who see it, and particularly if we can get minorities to see it, their jaws will drop open, because this is stuff that they have not been told. And I think it's going to open their eyes before November.
Here's a little, and you're right, it's a great way to describe it. It is mind-blowing. Here's a little bit of the trailer from this mind-blowing movie, Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party. It's going to be released nationwide July 22nd. There'll be select cities that it's going to be, where it's going to be released a little early. Here's a little bit of what the movie sounds like.
It all began when the Obama administration tried to shut me up.
You know, gang's all about stealing, man.
What did I learn? All crime is about stealing. The big criminals are still at large.
Didn't see any reason to keep them.
The system doesn't go after them because they run the system. It's time to go behind the curtain and discover the soul of the Democratic Party.
And of course, the way you peel back that curtain, Dinesh, and brilliantly weave together the way criminal gangs operate and the way the Democrat Party has operated, all through the guise of Obamacare, of housing, of education. I mean, this is now. I've known you for a long time, and I've been by your side at other movie premieres, and we've toured around the country together, and so I know that you've had this, this story you've shared and this narrative that you have been imparting upon millions of people. So this isn't anything that's new for you, but you encapsulate it so brilliantly in this movie, because in a way, you make the case, a very profound way, that today's Democrat Party is very much like the criminal gang members that you had to spend time with when you got in trouble with the feds.
And also the criminal gangs that run third world countries. I mean, one of the reasons I left India to come to America was to get away from corruption as a way of life, get away from politicians who sell their offices, get away from bribery and extortion and all the ways that are considered routine in those countries, not just India, but really all across the world. And so it's particularly dismaying to see, and I wasn't aware of this. 4 years ago when we did a couple events, we traveled together for 2016. I was a college president. I was thinking of American politics in sort of intellectual terms as a debate between our ideology and their ideology. And part of my experience in just sitting in a cell and talking to guys who had done time is that you begin to see that there are very low motives that also drive human nature, motives like avarice and lust and greed and hatred and revenge and envy. And if those motives are part of human life, why should they be exempt from politics? So the progressive Democrats, they use high-minded terms, social justice, the fair share, but meanwhile they avariciously and aggressively promote their own power, their own interests, and of course they loot the treasury. And Hillary is the in a sense, even more accomplished than Obama at doing this. So this film, in a way, blows the lid on these people in such a way that I think it will energize Republicans who see the film, and it will also sway independents if we can get them into the theater.
You go to www.hillariesamericathemovie.com, hillariesamericathemovie.com to get details about this, the release of this movie, which is coming up in a few weeks. I also thought it was fascinating, Dinesh, how you talk about, you go back to the work you did with 2016, Obama's America, and you say, it kind of goes back to what you just said a moment ago, that you've tended to look at America as what she could be, and what you hope she is, and now there's sort of a grim reality about the way things are now, and the way the system, frankly, to paraphrase, the Republican nominee for president right now, is rigged.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this film makes so many astounding claims, and the left is going to be screaming about it. Happily, I have a book that's coming out at the same time from Regnery, same title, Hillary's America. And what the book does is it lays out chapter and verse with all the supporting documentation, so that there's a kind of support for the film.
Like a primer to go along with it, yeah.
Every claim is backed up, and the book becomes a kind of handbook for the well-equipped.
And let's talk about some of those claims, because you're right. The left's going to go nuts over some of the things you state very matter-of-factly. For example, and I think it's brilliant the way you point out that the narrative has long been that that racism has been completely and wholly owned by Southern Republicans. It's the South and it's Republicans who have been guilty of systemic racism in America. And you say that really nothing could be further from the truth.
Right. I actually say in the book, and I don't remember if this line is in the movie or not, I say that if there's one group in America that has the least reason to feel guilty about slavery or segregation or white supremacy or racism, it is the Republican Party. Now, that's an astounding claim because it's the very opposite of what the progressives say.
Well, let's look at how many members of the Republican Congress in the middle of slavery owned slaves.
Zero. There were no Republicans in the United States who owned slaves. Think about that. Every slave in America was owned by a Democrat at the time of the Civil War.
Now that's that you talk about mind blowing. Can we repeat that one more time? Because I literally had the benefit of this thing on my computer, the movie on the computer, so I could rewind it yesterday. People going to the theater beginning July 22nd won't. Once again, no Republicans in Congress owned slaves during the middle of the Civil War?
Yeah, I don't mean in Congress. I mean anywhere. There's not a known Republican in the country who owned slaves at the time of the Civil War. The Republican Party was formed explicitly to stop the extension of slavery. Now, they couldn't do it in the southern states because even Lincoln believed that the Constitution had allowed slavery in the South. But they were united in blocking the extension of slavery. And, of course, it was the Republican Party in the end that did end slavery.
And of course, when you go back into the history of the Democrat Party, Andrew Jackson has a prominent place in your movie. Proud Democrat. Boy, he was a peach of a guy.
Well, here's a guy who was not only a slave owner and a planter, but he was also kind of a ruthless Indian killer. I think the thing that made Jackson particularly sleazy was that he figured out a way to profit personally from all his land dealing and land stealing. So before he would push the Indians off their land, he and his friends would go in and survey and measure the land, and then they would essentially bid on it so that they would get it at bargain basement prices. Now, what to me is fascinating about all this, Mike, is you see that the roots of the Clinton Foundation go all the way back to the land-stealing policies of Andrew Jackson. These people have been at this for quite a long time.
And, of course, you take us into the 20th century with Saul Alinsky. And as you point out, and you bring it full circle, you talk about today's presumptive Democrat nominee, Hillary Clinton, and how she worshipped at she learned at the knee of the master, Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals.
Well, there's all this controversy about Alinsky. Was he a radical or was he a social justice guy? And really what we show is, in a sense, he was neither. He was a professional thief.
He was just a thug.
And the beauty of it is Alinsky talks about it himself. And so in the movie, and we do this repeatedly, we go to his own words where he talks about, how did I learn to become a petty criminal? How did I get in with all the Chicago gangs? How did I become an insider in the Capone gang? You know, how did I then take those lessons and apply them to politics? It's all in the movie, and you begin to realize that when you see these scams like Obamacare, Hillary's education proposals, they're all rooted in theft. And that was, in a way, the big insight I had sitting in the confinement center, that all crime is really about theft, and a lot of politics is about figuring out ways to steal from the American people while putting on a halo and pretending that you're doing good.
Well, I hope you'll visit with us often as we get closer to the opening, and we're very, very proud here at the Mike Gallagher Show to be partnering with you and your group in promoting this movie. Hillary'sAmericaTheMovie.com, in theaters everywhere, July 22nd. And again, Dinesh, I'm going to start calling you. Your new nickname for me is Nostradamus. That's just it. I mean, you nailed it, and this is brilliant, and it's like you say, it's mind-blowing, and everybody needs to see it. We'll get you back real soon, okay, Dinesh?
Looking forward to it.
Me too. Dinesh D'Souza on his movie, Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party.